Today, we're diving into a topic that so many of you ask and DM me about, especially after hearing my journey living abroad first as a single gal, then as a couple, and now a family of three. The real perks of dual and even triple citizenship. For those of you who don't know, I am American. My husband is British, and our baby was born in Brazil earlier this year with triple citizenship. So he has American, British, and Brazilian citizenships. Rags and I are now in the process of getting Brazilian citizenship ourselves, which would make us both dual citizens. I love talking about this topic. So, whether you're a full time traveler, an aspiring digital nomad planning to have a family abroad, or if you're simply curious about what's actually possible with multiple citizenships, then this episode is going to open your mind to a whole new world. Let's start with a little backstory of how this all started. I've been traveling extensively for the past 12 years or so now, starting with studying abroad twice in college and then backpacking solo and volunteering abroad after graduating. And after quitting my corporate job, I've basically lived abroad and traveled full time since 2018. So for almost 8 years now. When you travel, I feel like you learn so many things about other countries and cultures. And sometimes you realize that your country might not be the best in the world for what you want to do or what you envision for your life. I knew after reading a book by Nomad Capitalist that I wanted to have my children abroad, especially not in America, but that's a story for a whole nother day. Over the course of the past decade, I've had to navigate visas, residency, healthcare, business structures. So believe me when I say that I've seen firsthand how citizenship shapes your lifestyle and opportunities. We live in such a global world now where everything and everyone is connected through social media and the internet. We can make money online from anywhere and live anywhere. It is truly such a privilege and such an exciting time to be alive, especially because my business is online. It's so important for me to be able to work from anywhere I want to and be able to stay for as long as I'd like and invest in the country. I'm going to include a disclaimer here that everything I am sharing today comes from my personal experience as an American citizen. I was born in China and had Chinese citizenship until I was a teenager. But then I had to give it up when I naturalized in the United States. So I know this does not apply for all countries out there. China doesn't allow dual citizenship. I know Indonesia is another one that makes you choose. But what is crazy is that most people with the ability to have dual citizenship don't even realize the options they already qualify for or the ability to obtain one by choice. So, in the past, citizenship mainly could only be acquired if you purchase it or if you literally were born there or if your parents came from that country. A lot of people think that becoming a dual citizen is some elite, impossible thing. But in reality, many countries offer citizenship through descent. Many offer it through marriage or through birth, and others through investment, contribution, or entrepreneurship or residency. If you are a digital nomad or you have the intention to be an international family, I want to open the doors to opportunities that most people don't even realize exist. So now let's talk about what multiple citizenships actually give you. Because when I tell people that I wanted to give Levin three passports, when I tell people that I wanted to become a Brazilian citizen, the first question I get asked is, why? Like, why would you want that? Most Americans I talk to are like, but Brazilians are all trying to immigrate to America. Why would you want to go there? And so, number one, the most obvious perk is visa-free travel. Different passports unlock different parts of the world. Some passports get you into Europe easily. Some open up South America. Some unlock Asia or Africa. When you have more than one, your freedom multiplies as you can enter the country with the passport that will treat you the best and let you stay the longest. The second perk is the right to live, work, and stay without a visa requirement. This is massive, especially because I've stayed in countries as an American where I had to do multiple visa runs just to stay longer. And as a digital nomad, where you are able to work from anywhere, sometimes you just want to stay longer without having to leave. So, having citizenship somewhere also grants you permanent permission to start a business, buy property, send your kids to school there, work as a local, access healthcare, and stay indefinitely. You don't get kicked out because you are a citizen and you are allowed to be there. So, understanding this changes the entire way you structure your life as a digital nomad and as a family. We honestly don't know where we'll be in 10 years as we really see that the world is our oyster. With Brazilian citizenship, we get automatic access to Mercosur, which is huge for mobility. This basically means we can live, work, and reside long term in other Mercosur countries with far fewer restrictions. So, Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, Chile, Bolivia, we can pick up and move to Buenos Aires or Santiago without needing a long, complicated visa process. The next perk is generational benefits. So, if you have dual citizenship, your children often automatically inherit it. So this means we're not just changing our lives, but we're changing the lives of our family tree and giving our kids so many more opportunities. Like, imagine if your kids grow up with the ability to study, work, and live anywhere across multiple continents. This, in my opinion, is one of the biggest gifts you can ever give them instead of just being tied down to one country. It also aligns with our identity as an already international family. One of my favorite perks is access to multiple healthcare systems and benefits. Not relying on one country system is a game changer, especially as an American, where I personally believe the healthcare system can be such a scam and ripoff at times. In the UK and Brazil, for example, they have universal healthcare. In England, it's through the NHS, where all residents get free healthcare. In Brazil, it's truly universal: free emergency care, free routine care, free hospitalization, free maternal care, even for tourists. Of course, in both, there are paid private facilities, but it's not like in the US where everything is for profit and privatized, and people can go into massive amounts of debts for their health. In Brazil, the healthcare system is called SUS. We've used it to get some of Levin's vaccines, but the other day we passed by a cancer research center and oncology clinic run by SUS, and it's just crazy how it's completely free here, and it would be millions of dollars in the US without insurance. Access to multiple education systems is another. I went to Cornell University, and I know that international students pay significantly more for the same schooling than national or state residents. Same thing in the UK. But because Levin will have triple citizenship, he won't have to pay international tuition for, let's say, if he one day decides to go to Oxford or Cambridge or any university in the US or Brazil. As an international family, we don't know where we'll be based for school in the future, but we have choices now, right? Do we want him to learn Portuguese in Brazil or be in England? These are all really cool questions that we get to answer when the time comes. Another perk is more business opportunities. So, different citizenships allow you to access better tax structures, easier company registration, access to different bank accounts, investment environments, grants, and incentives. This also goes for investment vehicles. So, not only does he have access to all the accounts and investments and markets that are available in the US, but he gets Brazilian and British ones as well with no questions asked. For example, the high yield savings accounts here in Brazil are upwards of 10 to 15% interest right now, which is crazy because in the US it's around 4%. Having a second residency for us also means that we get to pay less taxes to the US because the US taxes you on worldwide income no matter where you actually reside. The US is one of two countries that does this. Because I'm a resident somewhere else, though, I can use Foreign Earned Income Exclusion or FEIE to deduct $130,000 in taxable income if I live abroad without needing to qualify for a physical presence test. Instead, I can use a bona fide residence test. When you play internationally, you gain leverage. The last perk is safety, security, and stability. So your home country may or may not be stable today, but what about in 10 or 20 years from now? Or what if your country goes into war and there's a draft? Having options is security, as you can be exempt from military service if you are a citizen of another country and living abroad. But of course, all of these are just examples of the amazing choices you get with multiple passports. So, like I said before, after reading a book by Nomad Capitalist, I was set on the concept of birth tourism as it was framed as one of the most powerful long term freedom strategies for globally minded families. You get a baby with a lifelong freedom passport. You give parents a residency path, more global mobility, international diversification, future tax and business options, high quality, low cost maternity care, multi generational advantage. Basically, we knew we were going to have a baby and live abroad, and we could get our residency without having to pay for it or apply for a special visa. A little background on how we got here. I know so many of you follow our story with Brazil, how I flew here at 28 weeks pregnant with our first baby. Brazil and many other American countries offer what's called jus soli, which means a child gets citizenship through being born in the country. We looked at other countries. I knew I wanted an elective C-section. The quality of doctors here in Brazil and the quality of healthcare, we ultimately chose Rio because it was a huge city with amazing hospitals right by the water. We've never been there before, but just looking at what we wanted our lifestyle to be like, I knew I wanted to spend my third trimester in sunshine, and I knew I wanted to be freshly postpartum with my first baby in sunshine. Having our baby in Brazil created a pathway for him to have Brazilian citizenship automatically, and then a pathway for us through him. Brazil has been an emerging market for decades, and here in Florianopolis, there is such a thriving tech and digital nomad scene. There's one-day shipping, there's conveniences that you can find in major developed countries. And what does Brazilian citizenship unlock? Full access to all of South America if we wanted to go somewhere else. It also gives us residency pathways in other South American countries, potential future visa-free travel expansion, a second home in a thriving, abundant, joyful culture. I personally love Brazil, love the food, love the people, love the music, love the energy, love the beaches. There's incredible healthcare options. If anything happens, we can go see a doctor or go to the hospital for free. I believe they have such a different lifestyle and worldview that is so good for our physical and mental health. So if all of this interests you, I definitely look into it. Some people I've met have qualified for second citizenships through descent. So your parents, your grandparents, or great grandparents, if you have Italian heritage, for example. If you want to give birth in foreign soil, that is one of the quickest ways to do so. Marriage, so through residency or direct citizenship, like if I wanted to live in England, I could get my British residency if I wanted to, which I don't at this moment. If you stay a long time in certain countries, you can get it through residency and maybe through investments. So if you look at property, if you look at entrepreneurship within the country or economic contributions, there's also some countries with special programs like cultural, historical, or humanitarian ties. There are thousands of people sitting on eligibility without realizing it. And if you're already traveling full time, if you are in one of my communities, you are already closer to an opportunity than you think. So, if today's episode is sparking ideas or possibilities for you, if you're craving the type of freedom where you can live abroad, travel the world, raise global kids, build an online business, and design a lifestyle on your terms, you can learn more and join the Digital Nomad Society. Inside, I teach you exactly how to set up your business and life so that you can work from anywhere. You can join us today in the episode description. Thank you so much for tuning in. Have an amazing week, my loves. I'll see you in the next episode.